Welcome to Purple Coach Conversations with Anne and Tanya. Our goal is to normalize, educate, and inspire conversations around diversity and inclusion. We're both coaches, mothers, entrepreneurs, and we're not diversity experts, but we aim to have conversations with people that have something unique and interesting to say about their journey and experiences when it comes to diversity and inclusion.
Today, we have got a really special guest with us that we're really excited to share with you on this series. This is Gina Moccio. She's a content coach in the US, based in the US in Florida. She helps busy and ambitious entrepreneurs find joy in their social media, but not just that. She's also the founder of Babecraft. It is a community of more than 150 entrepreneurs based in North America, Canada, and the UK. This very active community of entrepreneurs and business owners support each other on a daily basis on social media, but also come together several times a month to take part in masterclasses and discussions that help them grow their business and help them grow themselves as well as an individual. So we thank you today for being here, Gina, and we're really delighted to have you. Would love for you to, you are first of all actually our first cross-Atlantic guest, so welcome.
Thank you.
Would love to hear more about you and your story, and just introduce yourself a bit more.
Sure. So my name is Gina. I'm the founder of Babecrafted. I'm a content coach. I know that you covered a bit of that already, Anne. I love rainbow cookies. I love anytime I get a chance to visit London, where you two ladies are. And I'm really passionate about talking about goals and challenges and helping women move forward in their journeys. And I'm really excited to be here today.
Brilliant. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. I discovered, Gina, we were talking about this before we started the interview, and I discovered Gina, I would say around the events of George Floyd. I think it was a coincidence that it happened around that time. And I listened to your podcast because Gina has a fantastic podcast as well. What's the name of your podcast?
It's called Babecrafted Podcast. So very easy to find.
Great. So I recommend our listeners to also go on it and interview great entrepreneurs, and you share social media tips, etc. And I discovered Gina through that podcast, and then I started following you, and I saw how you proactively responded to the events of George Floyd, but not only. And I kind of really connected with you then, and I started to message you, and then I decided to join your community of entrepreneurs and come to your classes, and the support I got was amazing, and this starting to learn from women across the Atlantic, and also how active you've been with George Floyd, and would love to hear your take and what happened when this tragic event took place in the US.
Of course. So I'm really grateful for the chance to have a conversation like this, because it's important to be an active ally and to be uncomfortable and to learn and grow. And here's what I mean specifically. So before the murder of George Floyd in May of 2020, I was not an active ally. I was aware that Black women, men, and children were treated very differently in the US. And the only real thing I was doing about that in my life was, voting and being sure to vote for amendments that were going to be a better fit and were going to move us closer to equality, voting for candidates that would bring us closer to equality. But, from a business standpoint, I did my best to be a kind, welcoming membership facilitator. But after the death of George Floyd, I realized that kindness was not a sustainable strategy. Kindness alone was not going to make my organization a truly inclusive, equitable business. And I really have to tip my hat to Sonia Highfield of Real World Creatives, because not only is she a member of Babe Crafted, and that's how, part of how we know each other, but, she had shared this live video in her Facebook group talking about how she realized that she needed to be much more, she needed to be louder about her efforts and the fact that she was condemning what had happened to George Floyd. And I took inspiration from that and realized I needed to do the same thing. It wasn't enough to sign a petition. It wasn't enough to say, this was not okay. Like, I needed to take action to build the business that I wanted to have. And so some of the measures that I've taken, is creating and publishing a value statement, being the owner of an organization for people who identify as women. I mean, you can make a lot of assumptions about my beliefs and my values, but I wanted to make it very clear, that that equality and justice is very important to Babe Crafted, because, it's another form of oppression, and women have not reached full equality. There's no finish line for us, and it's the same for Black men and women. So some of those measures were the value statement, requiring all of our members to agree to terms, the fact that they are joining Babe Crafted to treat all members with respect and kindness, in all aspects of the wonderful person that they are, including but not limited to their race, sexuality, class, belief, age, net worth, any of these types of categories that people end up being placed in society. Adding a diversity and inclusion resources section to our membership portal, with access to resources and trainings by women like Trudy LeBron and Dr. Akila Cadet, increasing the amount of Black business owners featured on my podcast, featured on any of my platforms, being highlighted as speakers. Also, spending more money in the Black community, spending money with Black business owners. It was something that I never set out to do before. And guess what? Spoiler alert, that amount was $0. So I have made it a point to actually walk the walk. And I am happy to report that, that number has gone from $0 in 2019 to over $1,200, from 2020 and a portion of 2021. So, and I want to emphasize, I'm not done. I want to double this amount this year. I just want anyone listening to know that this isn't about being perfect. This isn't about ticking a bunch of boxes, but it is about realizing the fact that we as individuals and business owners wield power. And we can and should use that power to uplift others. And some things that you can do. I mean, you can volunteer your time, you can host a fundraiser, you can read a book and share it with someone, listen to a podcast and share it. You can invite Black business owners to be featured on your podcast, your blog, or your Instagram. And you can spend your money in the Black community, spend it with Black business owners.
Wow.
I think,
wow.
Yeah, that is so, there are quite a few.
I think we,
you first started off by saying that you're looking to be an ally, and that's something so many Black people feel. Me being one myself, is like, we're not looking for pity. We're not looking for the pity cards or like tick a box card. We're looking for allies, and we're looking for them in white women, especially as a Black woman or woman of color, because these are people as well that will help the cause of what we're trying to achieve. We're not going to achieve it alone. No cause, I think, has been fought alone purely by, one particular kind of race, without allies from different groups that are also helping to eradicate the issue or the problem in society. And then again, also actively doing it, and not just saying it, but walking the walk and having tangible actions that you can show, I've done X, Y, and Z. I've not just thought about it and thought it's a great idea. Amazing. And I high five you for that, honestly.
I wanna echo, and sorry, I'm jumping in here. I just want to say that, it's so refreshing to get transparency out of topics like this, because it's very hard, right, to put numbers or to kind of say that's the right amount of action to be done. But what you're showing us is that, you know, by being transparent and honest in how it was before you realized, even though you had some sort of realization of injustices that were happening, but you know, that extent wasn't there, you know, what happened before and after, and just even putting simple numbers, like you've said, like it's just not something that we see that frequently. I don't know if it's a difference between US and Europe also as well, but it is nice to hear that, and I wish we could publish it tomorrow almost.
No.
But because we can really feel your passion throughout, and how your body language changes, and how you fire up, and how much it's close to your heart. So yes, our audience will learn from you today. Thank you.
Thank you. You know,
Thank
just following
you.
on from that as well, Gina, do you actively seek racial diversity in the people that you have in your network? So obviously, I know you seek diversity in terms of their careers and their businesses, but do you specifically seek racial diversity? And if so, it'd be really interesting to hear from your experience if it's made a particular difference, or why you think racial diversity is important.
Of course. And yes, the short answer is that yes, I do. So today we have 153 members, you know, from all different industries, backgrounds, religions, different locations. So, and the way that most members come to us is either through referral, or I have directly pitched them. And I am specifically reaching out to women of color. You know, I am specifically reaching out to Black women. You know, I want them to know that, you know, I mean, of course, I value them and what they do and their expertise, whether or not they join Babe Crafted. Don't get me wrong there, but you know, I'm specifically reaching out to women, you know, to make sure that they know, like, hey, I see you, I love what you're doing, and I would love for you to be a part of Babe Crafted if it's the right fit. So I am working on increasing the levels of women that I'm pitching who are women of color as well. You know, it's interesting because, like, as business owners, we set and I don't know if this is something that I came up with or if I heard this from another business owner, but we set goals for our business to, for our social media goals, for our, you know, profit goals, for where we want to be in 3 months, 6 months, a year. But we don't do that for diversity and inclusion. And the only way it's going to happen is if we set a goal for ourselves, and then we can meet that goal, we can make progress. And inclusion, diversity, it doesn't happen just by hoping for it, just by wishing for it, just like anything else in life. And that is something that I have realized. I wanted to share one more quick story with you. So, you know, I'm sharing some of these ideas from a place of having taken more action, having, you know, working towards becoming an active ally. But it hasn't always been like this. In Black History Month in 2020, one of my Black members had reached out to me, and I will say I'm so grateful that she did. I'm grateful that we had the kind of relationship where she could share feedback with me. She could share constructive feedback with me, and trusted that I wasn't going to that it would actually go somewhere, and B, that, you know, that we had that type of relationship where she felt like she could come to me. But anyway, so here's what it was. So I did not have the tools in my toolkit to be able to celebrate Black History Month, and I was also really overwhelmed. I was understaffed and overworked, and I had just decided, at the time, I had just let Black History Month sort of come and go, and that was not an appropriate response. Like, being busy or not knowing how to do something is not an excuse for not showing up for my members. And, you know, she called me out on it, and I really respected that and appreciated it. And I was able to find some ways to celebrate Black History Month and celebrate our incredible Black members. But now, you know, having some perspective and some more time and some more efforts under my belt, if you will, I have more tools in my toolkit to be able to celebrate Black excellence and Black history beyond social media.
I think that's really amazing as well, just kind of owning up sometimes. And I think that's just a problem that anyone has, and especially more so around when you talk about sensitive subjects like race, inclusivity, and so on. But just sometimes going, actually, I didn't get that right. It's okay, because I can, you know, I can do something to make amends or to make things right. And we say this with Tanya as well quite a lot. Like, it's not always about getting it right, because you can't always get everything 100% right. But the effort that you put into the effort and the passion that you put into it is clearly visible. And the other thing I wanted to know, talking to other business men, women out there who also are business owners of a networking group, do you find that having diverse members has an additional value or additional benefit, if you like, than having just, you know, everyone looking like one particular group of society, for example? And just talk to us about the benefits of that, because and the reason I'm asking this, and quite frankly, is I've been to a couple of networking groups and sessions, and I've very often been the only Black person in that room or in that virtual room. So sometimes I wonder, it's like, are they not aware that there's no diversity, or do they not see the value in diversity? And, you know, as someone who is so actively involved in having members from diverse races, sexuality, and, you know, religions, tell us a little bit more about the importance of actually having diversity in your group.
Of course. So I wanted to create a membership that was not going to be category exclusive. You know, for example, there are other memberships and networking groups out there where you can only have one real estate agent and one social media manager. And I just don't think that it's possible to learn that way. It's because that the number one goal for Babe Crafted isn't just referrals. Like, it's we are coming here to learn and grow together, to be better women, to be better business owners, because because learning and growing is our main value. Yes, 1,000% diversity is hugely important, you know, because when you have access to people who have different perspectives, different experiences, you know, like,
Yes.
we can share that with one another and move forward even stronger. You know, like, you just, you know, there's that saying of, like, old ways will not open new doors. Like, if you're just surrounded by the same ideas and the same people all the time, like, you know, there's not going to be any opportunity for surprise or for magic to happen. And I really believe that there's magic in diversity. You know, of course, I know that there are articles with studies about, you know, with some statistics on how diversity really impacts your business, and not just from a visual standpoint, not just, well, I posted a photo of someone who's Black that one time, or, well, I mentioned in my marketing copy for my upcoming workshop that we want people of all backgrounds to join us. You know, like, it really has to be, it really has to come from an authentic, sustainable place, meaning that it's
Yes.
not just about kind of, you know, saving face today. It's about, like, this is drilled into the foundation of my business. And people will come, you know, if they see that, you know, you're going to be able to serve them before they join, whether it's buying a ticket to your workshop or booking a coaching session or joining a membership, then, you know, they know that when they do join, when they do sign up, they're going to be taken care of. You know, and you can't fake that.
No,
It's really it's got to be real.
they're going to be taken care of, they're going to feel welcomed, and they're going to fit in, because they're not the only person that looks and thinks the way they do. And so many times I've found myself in that position and just wondered, like, do they not see it? You know, it's like, even with board members, right? When you look at companies and it's all white older men, and sometimes you wonder, like, has the penny not dropped yet that this lack of diversity is hindering your growth to some perspective, or hindering how the companies run in general? So yeah, it's Thank you for sharing that with us.
Of course. And thank you for sharing what you have shared, Anne, about, the fact that it's happened on multiple occasions where you'll attend an event and you're the only woman of color in the room, or the only Black woman in the room. And it's one of two things. It's either that maybe they really don't notice, or it's that they're afraid of saying the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing. So instead of finding a way to address that, they just kind of don't talk about it. And like that's there are, after going back to George Floyd, and like the real change that we've experienced, and of course, like, we are not done by any stretch, but we all had to face the fact that, look, you can't keep standing here, you have to move. And I think that for the business owners specifically who did come out and voice their stance against injustice, against the mistreatment of George Floyd and of Black men and women in the US and across the world. I think that I'm so happy that they did that, but I know that, a lot of them maybe have not gone beyond that initial statement, because there's still a lot to learn. But again, like, that education is not going to just happen. Like, it's important to, you know, read books, watch movies, listen to podcasts, talk to people. There are also so many new resources out there addressing how to become a more inclusive business owner, how to build diversity into your brand, into your business. And at this point, you really have to just confront yourself on this. And if you're not taking action, it's not because there's a lack of resources. It's not because there's a lack of conversation. It's because there's a lack of willingness to step outside of that comfort zone. And like, we need to ask ourselves why that is.
That's a really good question. Why are you so uncomfortable to step out of that comfort zone? And what is it that you're afraid to learn about yourself, that you're so afraid to step out of that comfort zone?
Yes, definitely. Oh, sorry, were you going to say something, Tanya?
I have so much to say. I want to go back a little bit to all the marvelous things that you spoke about, and maybe just go a little deeper in the actions that you mentioned, right? You talked about your contribution to the Black community, the fact that you actively seek for Black members that would benefit from Babe Crafted, and also I'd like to talk about other things that you've created for the community, for the entrepreneurs themselves, as you are their leaders. You are the leader of that group of entrepreneurs who gather on a daily, weekly basis, monthly basis, and talk, etc., about different topics, and they learn. And you're setting the example that all of these businesses need to become inclusive. And we've seen that it had repercussions. The fact that you did something, other businesses did also something with you. I'd like to hear more about some stories. If you have any success stories you wanted to share from one of your entrepreneurs, or few of your entrepreneurs, and your actions, some actions that you've done around that.
Sure. So, I mean, as far as like some success stories, like coming from taking these types of actions, the specific action, like, we've been able to host a couple of fundraisers, which has been really wonderful. I mean, it makes me feel really great to not only, because the thing about Babe Crafted is that for the most part, like, we're serving women who have access to resources, to experts. But that's not the water that the average woman swims in. And I'm fully aware of that. So having the opportunity to support nonprofits that are truly empowering women and girls and improving their lives is such an honor. So we have been able to raise some funds for Color of Change and for Fair Fight. And we've done this as a group. It's not just me. It's my efforts and my platform, but I mean, we are pooling resources, we are raising awareness together. So that's something that's been really positive. And I think that not only like directly helps, but then like we're sharing examples of how you can walk the walk. I think another really great success story is having women, like receiving DMs from women who are not members of Babe Crafted, but who are saying like, thank you for sharing this. Thank you for amplifying this message. Thank you for amplifying this woman's voice or my voice. And that is something that is really wonderful, because it's not about praise. It's not about being recognized, but it is really helpful to know that, these efforts are, that there's a ripple effect, that there is an echo happening. So that's something that is really wonderful that I can share.
That's really brilliant. And I think the other question as well, actually, I know you've obviously been holding events around the topic of inclusion and diversity, and showing TED Talks, organizing discussion panels, letting people's voice be heard, and so on. And I'm sure you've come across quite a few interesting or very inspiring or educating material or videos, either through the TED Talks, whatever it is that you've decided to share with your panel. Can you tell us about something that you've decided to share with your group that you shared because you found it truly inspired you, whether it was a TED Talk or a podcast or something, but something that truly moved you and made you feel like my group has to hear this as well?
Oh my goodness, definitely. So some of the things that we did, directly after George Floyd, was hosting a series of TED Talks where members, could hop on Zoom and we'd watch a TED Talk together. And the great thing about TED Talks is they're usually pretty short, they're around 12 minutes or so. And then we just discuss them, openly. And at the time, it was a little intimidating, because I am not a diversity expert. I am not an inclusion expert. I'm just someone who, tries to be kind and welcoming and nice, and, has some experience facilitating conversation and discussion and events. So I thought, okay, well, let's see how it goes. And it was really positive. It was really wonderful, because I think that through some of these discussions, like, we were able to recognize some of our own biases, like things that we didn't know we had but are present, and you can't unlearn something that you're not even aware of. So one TED Talk that I'd love to shout out, which I think, there are so many great ones, but one of them is, it's called "Let's Get to the Root of Racial Injustice," and it's by Megan Ming Francis. And the great thing about that was that she was really sharing some thoughts and ideas that I recognized in myself, that I recognized in my family members, that I was like, okay, like, here's some more food for thought, more knowledge, that I can use to, you know, uh, unlearn some of these like toxic ideas, and, hopefully, be less biased, and not to say that, like, uh my family is really wonderful, but there were some things, said growing up that I that make me cringe, that I look back on now, that I'm like, wow, that was really inappropriate. And I just want to make sure that um I'm never sharing any language or ideas like that, whether on purpose or, on accident. So TED Talks have definitely been a really great resource. And then also, Dr. Akila Cadet has a really wonderful like virtual education that happens on a rolling basis. So you can always, snag a ticket and hop onto one of her trainings. And then also Hill Creatives. Hill Creatives is a really wonderful directory for business owners, all Black business owners and creatives. And then also they have just come out with some roundtables I believe that you can still purchase the replays for these roundtables. Like, for example, I wasn't able to watch them live, but I was able to purchase the replays, and I'm going through them. I was able to visit with 3 yesterday, and then I'm meeting with one of my members informally to hop on Zoom and just to chat about like key takeaways. It's really wonderful for me to take in this information, but it's also really wonderful to like bring it out into the world and discuss it. So those are a couple of resources that have been helpful for me, and that I highly recommend for other business owners, like especially as a place to begin. Just start somewhere.
Thank you so much for that, because the other thing as well that we love to share with our guests is actually resources where they can go onto to listen and to educate themselves, or and I think or even inspire themselves to do more proactively, rather than just doing the bare minimal, or talking about being an ally and not really doing anything about being an ally. So thank you for that. What we will do as well is we'll put in the details of the people that you've mentioned, so that other people can then find them, and links to them as well when we post the video. So thanks for sharing that with us. That actually covers one of the rapid questions I had for you, which was who would be the one of your favorite people to follow? I'm guessing those two would probably make that list.
Definitely, yes.
Yeah.
I would say some ladies that I highly recommend, that you follow, like definitely follow Aaliyah, the founder of Hill Creatives. And you can Google Hill Creatives, and, check out that directory and follow her on Instagram. Definitely follow Dr. Akila Cadet. She's incredible. Rachel Rogers, the founder of Hello 7, is incredible. I mean, Truly LeBron, wonderful. I mean, there are so many amazing women who have podcasts and books and blogs. I mean, there's just, specifically on diversity and inclusion, but also just, to learn business tips from them, entrepreneurship hacks, so there's, of course we want to highlight diversity and inclusion, but it's also from a recreational standpoint to take in, media created by Black creators.
And you mentioned a quote in the beginning of the discussion, a quote from your father-in-law. Would love to finish off with that quote.
Yes, my father-in-law, something he always said and always just like brought a smile to my face was, the harder you work, the luckier you get.
I love that. Absolutely brilliant. And it's so applicable in so many different ways.
It ties perfectly with exactly with the topics that we've been discussing, and other topics as well of life in general.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gina. You are a source of knowledge, and and we're going to share. Make sure we share everything that you've discussed, all the links on the show notes, so that our audience can definitely learn from all these wonderful people. And would you mind just sharing also with our listeners how they can connect with you? What's the best way to learn more from you and the Babe Crafted community and yourself?
Of course. So thank you ladies both so much for all that you do, like for all the greatness that you bring to the entrepreneur community. And thank you for having me here today. And where business owners can find me is Instagram is the best place, at Babe Crafted. You can send me a DM and say, hey girl, hey, anytime. You can also check out our podcast and our blog and other resources. Even sign up for our fun Friday pep talks at babecrafted.com.
That sounds fun.
Thank
I'm
you.
definitely checking that out. I didn't know about that one, but I'm definitely checking that out as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina, and make sure you connect and follow her and Babe Crafted community. Thanks everyone for listening. Make sure you go on our website and check all the other fantastic interviews we have, and go on our Facebook group to have more content on Purple Coach Conversations. Have a great day, ladies, and speak to you soon.
All right. Thank you once again, Gina. Take care, Tanya. Bye. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.